Just weeks into his second term, US President Donald Trump reignites a trade war with China. Gold prices surged to new all-time highs following tit-for-tat tariffs and record-breaking prices for this year's Super Bowl commercial slots. Hello, I'm Taiba Aydin and you're watching Money Talks. The trade war between the US and China is escalating. Tariffs of 10% on all Chinese imports are now in full swing, prompting Beijing to retaliate with levies of 10 to 15% on some US products. Investors now fear slower global growth, higher consumer prices, and a stronger US dollar. But beyond the broader impact, key industries are about to be the hardest hit. One of the most affected sectors is the motor industry. Major global car manufacturers rely on Chinese-made parts, and increased tariffs mean higher production costs. US-based car makers will likely suffer from retaliatory tariffs imposed by China, which could hurt their access to the world's largest car market. The semiconductor industry is another casualty, with chipmakers such as Nvidia, Intel and Qualcomm depending on China's factories for essential components. Any slowdown in production or additional costs due to tariffs could ripple across the tech sector, affecting everything from smartphones to artificial intelligence development. Consumer goods companies are also under pressure, as many everyday products from clothing and appliances to electronics are sourced from China. Higher import costs may lead to increased prices for American consumers, reducing spending power and potentially slowing retail growth. Beyond these industries, renewable energy is another sector at risk. The tariffs threaten the affordability of solar panels, wind turbines and battery storage technology, as China is a major supplier of components for clean energy projects. Industry experts warn that increased costs could slow the transition to sustainable energy, undermining long-term climate goals. For more, let's bring in Wael Mukarram in Dubai. He's a financial market strategist lead at XNES. Good to have you with us, Wael. Now, with trade tensions escalating, what does this ultimately mean for consumers facing higher prices?
First, thank you for having me. Well, it's not the best thing for consumers to hear, especially that they've been battling inflation for the past few years post-COVID. So this is definitely not a good news. And you can see with surveys all around the world that everyone is afraid of this trade war, because also they believe that we're still at the start, and that could bring in more costs, whether it's the products themselves or even supply chain disruptions. So that's not good news. However, consumers, they could start looking for alternatives. They could start looking for local made products in order to avoid having to pay higher costs due to tariffs.
And how will China's retaliatory tariffs impact the US's major industries? We mentioned some earlier, but are there others?
Yeah, exactly. Well, China for now, it's just the start. It's not they're still warming up when it comes to the response to the US, because what they targeted is just a very tiny part of what they really import from the States. However, if we look at just an example, what happened back in 2018, if we look how much the agriculture sector was impacted because of just cutting soybean, it was around $27 billion in losses, if I'm not mistaken, and 26 billion accounted for China stopping these imports. So that's definitely not going to be easy. However, a lot of businesses, they started looking to diversify away from in order to just limit the risks that they could face due to these tariffs.
And how can large US companies re-strategize?
Well, if you look at the recent numbers, like more than 64% of the companies that were surveyed, they are looking to diversify away from China when it comes to production. And among these, if you look at Apple, for example, they were looking to diversify away from China, looking into India, for example, and in other countries. When it looks for automotive sector, also they were trying to move a little bit away, whether it's Mexico or even some countries in Southeast Asia. So they've always been on the look, especially that it was known that if Trump wins the presidency, they will face trade war again. So these companies, they didn't leave themselves to the last point, and they started looking for alternatives. It's not easy to implement these alternatives. However, it would be better to diversify away from China rather to incur the total risk.
And President Trump has said he's in no rush to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping. How do you expect this trade war to go down this time round?
Since they didn't have yet their call, and we've been waiting for that for a few days now, I believe that both of them there are just sticking firm in their positions, and it's not going to be easy. I don't think there will be a comprehensive deal overall. However, this could just lead to limiting problems in certain aspects. So it's not going to be a full deal. They're just going to start finding common grounds on certain things and moving forward with that. So it's not going to be easy. There are a lot of things that are in the fight, whether intellectual property, whether it is access to certain technology, whether market access. So it's not going to be an easy thing to solve. However, Trump is looking for fast results, and then China is not going to give it to him easily. So that's going to take a lot of time to ensure that we get away from these trade tensions, if we can get away in the next 2 years.
Okay, well, Mukarram from XNES, we will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for your analysis.
Thank you so much.
Meanwhile, gold prices reached a new all-time high this week following the US president's comments about the future of Gaza and over fears of a renewed trade war between the US and China. Spot gold rose 0.6% to around $2,860 after Beijing retaliated to Donald Trump's 10% tariffs on Chinese goods by hitting US imports with up to 15% levies and put several companies, including Google, on notice for possible sanctions. Trump said on Tuesday that he's in no hurry to speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping to try to diffuse the trade tensions between the world's two largest economies. Several Fed officials have warned the Trump administration's plans for trade tariffs come with inflation risks. For more, we're joined by Hassan Fawaz in Doha. He's founder and chairman of Give Trade. Thank you for being with us, Fawaz. Now, firstly, another record high for gold, and we're seeing investors increasingly seeking safe haven assets. What's been driving this?
Thank you, Taiba, for having me. We've seen over the past 2 years, actually, gold has been rising non-stop because obviously economies around the world are suffering. Inflation has been increasing. We have a lot of geopolitical tensions. The Middle East was about to go through a traumatic war, a big whole-scale war. There's a lot of issues that we are suffering from right now. For the year to come, we have the tariff problems that already started with Donald Trump gaining presidency in the States. We're worried about, because of those tariffs, because of the impact of those tariffs, investors might think about going more into safe haven assets. And there's also the part where the Central Bank of China keeps piling up gold even at these record prices, which is basically causing gold prices to rise constantly.
So gold is holding steady near that record high. How soon do you think we could hit that $3,000 mark?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if gold prices hit 3,000 in the first quarter of the year, because there are a lot of factors that are affecting that. We'll have to see what happens with tariffs. We'll have to see the impact of what happens between China and the US. I think the Canada and Mexico thing was just an appetizer. Trump was actually showing everybody that he's not joking around when it comes to tariffs. And I think the main problem we have to worry about is what happens between the US and China, because this will impact global growth heavily. And we have also the problem that is the tariffs on the EU and England, which will also have a big impact.
And gold is also outperforming Bitcoin at the moment. Why has the crypto rally fizzled out?
Well, because crypto is a more risky asset. And right now, investors in the current economic environment would rather go to more safe haven assets than riskier assets, because there's a lot of things they're dealing with. And definitely Donald Trump's talk about Bitcoin has been phased out over the past few weeks. He hasn't mentioned anything about the Bitcoin reserve. I think the first growth was done in crypto. The first, increase in prices when Donald Trump came into power was because he was talking about a Bitcoin reserve. Investors haven't seen anything substantial with that yet. And due to the tariff situation, that is a more bigger concern now. And people tend to invest less into crypto when you have a risky economic environment.
Okay, Hassan Fawaz, founder and chairman of Give Trade. We will have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
2 years after 2 earthquakes left parts of southern Türkiye in ruin, business owners are opening their doors for what they hope will be a new era of prosperity. 80% of buildings were damaged in Antakya, the main city in southern Hatay province. And while construction there is still ongoing, the area's cultural and culinary legacy is slowly being revived. Randolph Nogel reports from the city.
Salah Usta is preparing the kitchen for the evening rush. The restaurant he and his wife have built is an institution in southern Türkiye's Hatay province.
I chose the same profession as my father. I've been doing it for 50 years.
The twin earthquakes 2 years ago left their restaurant in ruins, which is why he and his wife are operating out of these container units to keep their business afloat.
We lost our business after the earthquake. Philanthropists built this new workplace. The secret is to love your job. My wife helps me. She is my biggest supporter.
We used to be like a family with our old customers. They would call me mom and I would call them my children. We lost most of them in the earthquake. We still are very sad. Sometimes I say to Salah Usta, thank God we're alive with our 3 children. We have to move on.
The old city of Antakya in Hatay, where Salah Usta and Hanife's restaurant was located, is slowly being rebuilt. A new restaurant is under construction for Salah Usta and Hanife.
Rich in culture, including its cuisine, Antakya was one of the most visited cities in all of Türkiye before the earthquake struck, drawing more than 500,000 visitors every single year. You can see what the city used to look like on these placards, but with many areas still under construction, a long road lies ahead for tourism to recover.
This is the old bazaar. It is one of the most symbolic and historical places in Hatay. It was destroyed because of the great disaster, but we have to stand up. I hope tourists will return.
We are very hopeful. Our old customers have never left us. Our business is good for now. I hope it will be even better.
Until then, they'll continue to bring the best of Hatay's cuisine to the table. Randolph Nogel, TRT World, Antakya.
Meanwhile, the East Mediterranean International Tourism and Travel Fair, or EMIT, has kicked off in Istanbul, bringing together thousands of industry professionals. This annual event plays a key role in promoting Turkey's top destinations on the global stage, just as the country's tourism sector gears up for another record-breaking year. Ömer Bakkaloğlu has the story.
From the ancient ruins of Ephesus to the fairy chimneys of Cappadocia, Türkiye has long been a magnet for travelers seeking diverse experiences. The tourism industry, which is a vital part of Türkiye's economy, marked another record-breaking year, continuing its steady rise since the pandemic. In 2024, the country welcomed a staggering 52.6 million visitors, making it the 6th most visited country in the world. This translated into a record $61.1 billion in tourism revenue, up by 8% compared to the previous year.
There's no need to emphasize the size of the tourism sector. It directly supports 50 industries and indirectly impacts over 100. In terms of scale, it accounts for 5% of Türkiye's gross national product. Another key factor is that it falls under foreign exchange generating services. So in this sense, we see it as a massive industry both domestically and internationally.
This growth isn't accidental. The country has been strategically investing in its tourism infrastructure, from upgrading airports to expanding highways. According to the 2025 investment program, the government plans to spend $70 million on 55 tourism-related projects this year. Key initiatives include improving roads in popular destinations like Bodrum, Izmir, and Muğla, as well as expanding offerings in Konya and Mardin.
Midyat is a UNESCO city. To revive its historical texture, we have restored old mansions, monasteries, and mosques. Right now, we have opened part of what we may not just Türkiye's, but the world's largest underground city. We call this New Cappadocia. So far, we have opened a 9,000 square meter area, and by end of the year, we aim to make it accessible for both local and international tourists.
Türkiye's tourism sector is also diversifying. Beyond traditional hotspots, the industry is tapping into luxury resorts, health tourism, and eco-friendly travel experiences. At the East Mediterranean International Tourism and Travel Exhibition, industry leaders have gathered to discuss emerging trends, forge partnerships, and explore new opportunities in the global market. After a record-breaking year, Türkiye is now setting its sights even higher. The country aims to attract 65 million international visitors in 2025, and events like Emit will be key in reaching that ambitious goal. As Türkiye continues to build on its success, officials say the sector's growth will remain a pillar of the country's economy, ensuring long-term and sustainable development. Ömer Bakkaloğlu, TRT World, Istanbul.
The annual Investing in African Mining Conference underway in Cape Town brings together over 15,000 government, mining and business executives from across the globe. While Africa remains the destination of choice for mining, it's an industry that continues to face significant challenges. Crystal Alderson has this report.
Review and adapt. That's the message from mining leaders here in Cape Town, future-proofing Africa's mining and ensuring sustainability for the sector is a key issue at the annual mining conference. Mining leaders here say Africa remains a key player in the mining sector. The continent produces more than 60 metal and mineral products and has about 30% of the world's total mineral reserves, including gold, diamonds and critical minerals like cobalt. However, the mining industry is undergoing unprecedented changes, including high commodity price volatility, rising exploration costs, and ensuring that mining communities benefit from their resources. These issues affect countries such as Botswana, South Africa, and Ghana. Ghana is Africa's largest gold producer, and the sector is a key driver for Ghana's economy, contributing 17% to the country's GDP. However, the country's mining commission says it has to ensure that local communities benefit from the resources. With more than 3 million people working in small-scale mining alone, Ghana has now enacted legislation to ensure this happens.
The Mineral Development Fund actually get a share of appropriation from mineral royalties, and they will be directly introducing interventions in host mining communities with the intention of ameliorating and mitigating the impact of mining operations on the lives, the welfare, and well-being of host mining communities.
According to mining experts, the issue of beneficiation has been on the agenda for more than 20 years, and countries have not been able to implement the strategy thus far.
I think we have to look at why that might be. In South Africa's case, I'd say we've gone backwards because by losing energy, by having a worse power supply, we're in effect de-beneficiating, because what we used to add was power.
Analysts say it's about getting the basics right. However, mining technology firms are bullish about Africa. From Morocco to Ghana to South Africa, new mining tech is coming to market and, if possible, will enhance the safety of mines.
We are committed to making sure that mining is sustainable and safe and efficient for our customers. And this not only has an impact on our customers, but of course on the communities that they are situated in.
While Africa remains an attractive hub for mining activities, despite its inherent challenges, sustainable mining will ultimately define the sector's legacy for all stakeholders involved. Crystal Alderson, TRT World, Cape Town.
Following a difficult year for the car industry, Toyota has preserved its title as the world's largest automaker by sales in 2024. And it's mostly thanks to its record high hybrid sales. Panani Shasta has the details.
The Japanese car maker Toyota took the crown as the world's best-selling auto company. With over 10 million hybrid vehicles sold in 2024, it's their fifth straight year at the top of the table.
We are very pleased with our 2024 sales performance, which reflects customer support for our multi-path approach to electrified vehicles. Our growth is a result of offering customers the choice of technologies, combined with strong brand, product power, and excellent support from our retail partners.
Toyota Europe sold over 1,100,000 vehicles this year, an increase of 3% year-on-year, marking the fourth consecutive year that Toyota brand occupied the second best-selling passenger car brand in Europe. In North America, it reported an increase of 3.7% on a volume basis in the US, with sales of over 2.3 million vehicles. But looking forward, it's unclear how far the company will be affected by the return of President Trump, his attitude to tariffs, and electric vehicles.
And I will end the electric vehicle mandate on day one. Thereby saving the U.S. auto industry from complete obliteration, which is happening right now, and saving U.S. customers thousands and thousands of dollars per car.
Some American drivers like Jennifer Liss don't agree with Trump's policies on this.
I would just love if they would all take climate change take the politics out of it, and let's just figure out how to all thrive in what's clearly a warming world and take the time to really understand what's happening to our climate and earth systems.
This was exactly what Toyota officials aimed at with their multi-pathway approach to electric car production. They say they strive to design low and zero-emission mobility solutions to meet regional needs and products that satisfy demand. Toyota Motors North America announced earlier that it has invested nearly $21 billion into its U.S. manufacturing operations to support electrification since 2020. And it's now gearing up for another busy year ahead. Panani Shasta, TRT World.
Every year, the Super Bowl attracts more and more fans. That means more television viewers, which translates into even bigger, brighter and more lavish commercials. This year's Super Bowl ads are already breaking records, with prices soaring to new heights. Nicholas Morgan has the details.
The Super Bowl, where the ads are as big as the game itself. And this year, those ads have reached new peaks.
At a starting price during the upfront season, they were going for about $7 million. There was so much demand, however, that Fox said that there was actually a wait list as we got closer to the game, and there were about 10 or so brands on that wait list, and then those coming off were paying as much as $8 million for a 30-second spot, which is a new record.
That demand speaks to the power of the Super Bowl, with over 124 million people tuning in. Advertisers see it as the golden opportunity to boost brand visibility and reach. Last year, the sports Blue Ribbon event generated around $700 million. But this year, a new player is joining the fray. OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT, is airing its first ever television ad. It's a big shift for the AI giant, which grew through word of mouth and digital buzz.
So if you have 30 seconds in the Super Bowl, you know that people are going to be talking about it on social. You know that every media brand out there is going to be talking about it and covering it.
Tech giants like Microsoft and Google are also shelling out millions, betting Super Bowl ads will dominate both screens and social feeds. So why are all these modern tech companies going old school?
It should really still be about the product and selling the product, because at the end of the day, that's what brands are here to do in the Super Bowl. They want to get in front of as many people as possible so that those people walk away and remember their product and want to go purchase it.
The Super Bowl isn't just American football. It's a battleground for braggadocio and brand power, marketing and making lots of money. Nicholas Morgan, TRT World.
Super Bowl.
And if you have any stories you'd like our reporters to look into or any questions for our experts, you can reach out to us on X at TRT Money Talks. Well, that is all from Money Talks for now. From me and the whole team here in Istanbul. Thanks for watching.